You know, in rural West Tennessee, we usually just use a flip chart. We're not used to stuff like this, so I hope I don't foul it up too bad. Good afternoon. It's good to see everyone, and it's a privilege for me to be on this distinguished panel today, and I appreciate the opportunity that Bridget and Cumberland Region tomorrow has given Southwest Tennessee Development District to participate in a statewide project where you have regions who are capitalizing on their strengths and assets, and we're able to come together and look at best practices that we might incorporate in our particular areas of the state. Now, I'm going to talk to you today about a project that has boots on the ground. How many of you in this room today, if someone asks you, do you live in a rural area? Raise your hand if you would say yes to that. Okay. As usual, we're a little outnumbered here today, but I do want to talk to you about a program that we see has been most effective in a rural area, but can be just as effective in an urban area or any area across the state of Tennessee. Some of you might remember me in a prior lifetime. I spent a few years here in Nashville as the Assistant Commissioner of the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development under Governor Bredesen. I never will forget one day in 2006, I got summoned to the governor's office. Now, usually when an assistant commissioner gets summoned to the governor's office, it's not really good news most of the time. And so I thought, well, Joe, you may be going back to rural West Tennessee after this meeting today. But the governor had been thinking about where his administration was in terms of rural economic development. And he wanted to spin out some thought processes in an organization called Tennessee Tomorrow. He wanted to revive this organization and asked me if I would take on that responsibility. I've lived in rural West Tennessee all of my life. A former city mayor, former county mayor, and I have spent, seem like more years than I like to mention, working on economic development in these areas. So I began that process, and what Governor Bredesen wanted at that time was to come up with something new, something different, and something that did not duplicate efforts that were going on at the present time. So I began that process. I actually visited every rural county in the state of Tennessee and looked at what practices had worked and what practices had most of the time failed. I was in the process of putting my report together for the governor, and at that time the director of Southwest Tennessee Development District announced he was going to retire. I'm not real smart, but I knew Congressman, when Governor Bredesen's gig was up, Joe's gig was up too. And so if I had an opportunity to go back to rural West Tennessee, I might ought to talk to these folks. So I did, but I took this program with me and said, what can we do to implement a program that would be most effective? Now, the Ready region, you will see here, is composed of 11 counties in West Tennessee. You know, one of the things we find out real quickly in rural areas is due to population, we don't have the greatest influence in the world. My home county is Hardin County on the Tennessee River. Down in the corner you'll see we border both the states of Mississippi and Alabama. We have about 25,000 population. When I used to go to Nashville as a mayor, people were kind to me, but 25,000 population didn't make a whole lot of difference in the next election, to tell you the truth. So one of the things that we had put together in this program was you needed a regional approach. You had to create some synergy. You had to create some strength. So with these 11 counties that you see here, we have a total population of almost 350,000 people. you could say, if you look at us as a super county, that we're the fourth largest county in the state of Tennessee. And it also increases our legislative representation tremendously. So all of a sudden, when the mayor of Hardin County goes to Nashville, instead of talking on behalf of just 25,000 people, if he is a member of the READY Coalition, he can talk as a member of a coalition of 350,000 people. All right, I'm going to talk to you about, we have 4 areas of concentration, but I'm going to briefly talk about 2 areas that we focus on in our READY program. One is our college access program. When we looked at rural West Tennessee, we had a huge shortcoming when it came in our workforce to those that have post-secondary education. We have a lot of folks in our area that would be first-generation potential college students. Good people did not get a whole lot of encouragement at home to move forward and get post-secondary education attainment levels. So we knew if we were going to attract the jobs that we needed to attract into rural West Tennessee, we had to do something about it. The first thing we did, though, and I'm a stickler about this, is I asked each county that wanted to participate in this program to invest in the program. I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen a lot of good projects fail because people talked about it a lot, but they never would invest in it. And I said, folks, let's not waste our time. If you're not interested in investing in this program, then we probably need to look at something else. We had 11 counties that invested $15,000 each to get the READY program off the ground. And then you'll see we began in March of 2010, and you'll see in 2010 and 11 and 2011, 2012 dollars that we have received to go toward our READY program. We have leveraged that $165,000 into a little bit in excess of $2 million in our college access program. Now, what are we doing with those dollars? 11 counties, we have 13 school districts in those 11 counties. We work with 19 high schools. Now, what this funding allowed us to do, we started with an original staff of 3, a director and 2 people that worked in the college access program. We were able to hire 9 additional people to work in this program, and they actually are stationed in our high schools. They give us space there to work with those kids who are coming through. 2010-11, we worked with 1,284 students for a little over, and they received a little over $6 million in funding to go into post-secondary. This past year, that number went up to a little over 1,500 students. And this year, we're working with about 1,700 students. And we work with a lot of these students who are on a community college path. And you can see the first year, of course, it's one thing to get them to school, but it makes no difference if you get them there if they don't complete the work. So we've been tracking this. We work primarily with Dyersburg State in Covington and Jackson State. In Jackson, the first year of Cohort 1 at Dyersburg State, we had a 47% retention rate on those that came back for the next semester. In our first year, this year that number jumped to 82%, and at Jackson State, it was 46% the first year, and then jumped to 78% the next year. This does work. It's a monumental task, but that's one reason we wanted to join forces with the Tennessee Regions Roundtable, because it gave us some visibility and support from across the state. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the digital factory. Now, I know some of you attended the governor's conference here, or maybe ECD governor's conference a couple of years ago, and there was a session on digital factories. We actually were in on the ground floor of that concept, and we began our first digital factory in Parsons back last year. It's been a tremendous success. What we were looking for was create jobs in rural areas that we had folks that could actually come in, go through a training program, go to work. And you'll see what's happened there. The first center opened in July 2011. We got a grant of $105,000. We've had 16 training classes. Right now, there are 65 people employed. You see the average wages. And then on April 1st of this year, we opened up our second digital factory in Ripley, and it's completed its first training class. The beauty of this is very cost efficient. About $3,650 a month is what it's costing us to operate these digital factories. We want to have one in every one of our counties. Folks, I worked a lot of years in economic development. I found out a long time ago, if you're in Hardin County and you're 70 miles from the nearest interstate highway, Nissan is not going to build a plant there, okay? We got to get real, and we got to understand who we are and what we do, and so the digital factory has been a real plus. We'd love to talk to any of you about our program and what we've done in depth. This is my contact information. We do have a director, and Lisa, if you'll stand, Lisa Hankins is here. She is the director of our READY program, and this is her contact information. And again, we're excited about the coming year because of the partnership we've got with Bridget and her group on working on some things that relate to sustainable communities, that work on transportation issues. So we feel like we're positioned well, and I appreciate the opportunity of being here today. Thank you.